And welcome back. More than 45,000 people live in New York City shelters, and thousands more remain unsheltered. Urban Pathways serves as the first point of contact for many homeless New Yorkers. The organization ensures homeless and at-risk New Yorkers have the housing, services, and support that they need to be self-sufficient. And joining us now is the Director of Policy at Urban Pathways. We've got Nicole McVinua. And Nicole, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
And when we talk about the population, the homeless, the work that you do really reaches people right at that very beginning point. Share with us a little bit about your organization.
Yeah, absolutely. So Urban Pathways is a nonprofit homeless services and supportive housing provider. We have over 20 programs throughout New York City, and we serve approximately 3,900 single adults every year. And our main focus is really serving people who are experiencing chronic street homelessness. So those folks who have been on the street for over a year or more. They might have sort of been in and out of the shelter system or just not really found the service that's right for them. And we also have a focus on serving people who are living with mental illnesses. And at Urban Pathways, oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
I was going to say, we also offer, like you alluded to, a full continuum of services, which I think is really unique. So people can come in through street outreach, they can go to transitional housing, and then they can receive keys to their very own apartment, all under the Urban Pathways umbrella.
Give me a little bit of insight into this here, because in addition to the work that you do as being that first site, that first help at the inception for people who are homeless, I know that you also spend a lot of time with outreach teams that are actually going out with boots on the ground, hitting the ground, trying to help and deal. Talk to me about the work of the outreach.
Yeah, absolutely. So the outreach teams are really the first point of contact for folks who are living on the street or in transit hubs. So we have street outreach teams in the Port Authority bus terminal and both of the major New York City airports. We also do outreach in the Flatiron District and parts of Midtown Manhattan. And so outreach is really about relationship building. It's gaining the trust of individuals who are on the street, trying to meet some of their basic needs, and then finding the service that's right for them to get them indoors.
And you talked about building relationships. That's very critical. But when we're dealing with the homeless population, sometimes trust is a huge issue. Give us a little bit about what it takes and what you've been able to do in order to build that trust, but not just be able to build that trust, but to be able to help them to get across the finish line in some ways.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it can take time, right? And so sometimes I know members of the community may see folks repeatedly on their street corner and they wonder, is that person receiving any type of service? But our street outreach, they don't rush people, right? They really want them to come in when they're ready, and they offer them assistance on the street as best they can until they're ready and they build that trust. And so one of the greatest tools that we have is our drop-in center, which is, what it sounds like. You can drop in, get a meal, get a shower. You're not sort of tied to stay there, so people can come and go as they please. And then once they feel comfortable, they can stay longer and get a case manager and get assistance accessing their benefits and searching for housing. So that's been, one of the best tools that we've had to sort of draw people in and give them a different option than going through, the central intake system in the city shelters, which can be a really long and intimidating process.
Yeah, and it's a lot of red tape for a lot of people. I think that when you talk about this process of trying to deal, you hear that from so many people who deal with the bureaucracy and red tape, and waiting and delays and things like that. But you do a good job of also helping in the area of permanent and supportive housing. Give us a little insight into the work that's being done there, because a lot of those that are coming through as your clients, this is their primary need.
Yes, absolutely. And so, we know that the solution to homelessness is housing at the end of the day. And so supportive housing is a a wonderful tool to getting people housed who may have some challenges living independently, either because of their mental health or because of a physical disability. But supportive housing provides people with an independent living environment. They get keys to their own apartment. They're typically studio apartments. They have their own kitchen, they have their own bathroom, they have their own private space. But they have those support services ready on site at our congregate supportive housing, or we have some scattered site apartments where we actually rent apartments in the community and the services come to them. So they have a case manager, they have a nurse accessible to them. They have social services staff that can help them to stay on track and manage their appointments and get connected to all of the sort of wraparound services that will support them to live a fully independent life.
And so you also have an employment program, the Upwards Employment Program. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, we have an employment program that helps people with, kind of the whole process of getting a job. So job readiness, preparing their resumes, applying for educational or vocational training, if that's of interest to them, and then actually helping them with the job search, going on the interviews, getting that job, and then keeping that job. So they follow up with them to make sure that they're able to retain the position. We also have internship programs. Some of our clients can actually intern with us at Urban Pathways, working in another program site. So that's also a great opportunity for folks who are looking to get back into the workforce.
Yeah, and so for yourself, talk to me about the impact that you feel that the organization is making within the community.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, we are certainly making an impact with the services that we're providing. I think we've been a really trusted service provider in the community. We've been around since 1975 doing this work. And, we've really been innovative as well into creating new programming to meet the needs of our clients as they arise. But the other piece of the work that we're doing, and that's kind of where my role comes in as the director of policy, is to advocate for policies that will make it easier for people to access permanent affordable housing, to move on from homelessness more quickly, and also to really get our consumers, the people that we serve, involved in that advocacy work, so that their voices can be heard and they can feel empowered to impact these systems that have affected their lives.
And as far as challenges are concerned, I know that there's a lot of challenges out there, particularly dealing with this underserved and vulnerable population. For yourself, looking at the work that you do, what would you identify as some of the challenges that you're currently facing today?
We're certainly facing a number of challenges. One of those is staffing at our program sites. Just like so many other industries around the city and across the country, keeping our program staffed has been a real challenge, which is why we're part of the Just Pay campaign, which is a campaign to essentially end government sanctioned poverty wages that are currently provided in our contracts. So all of our programs are contracted by New York City, by New York State government entities. And so they really set the rates of pay for our staff. And, we think that the low pay has unfortunately created a lot of turnover within our organization. So that's one of the biggest challenges that we're facing right now as an organization and as a sector as a whole.
Yeah. And about the summer months, we know we were just talking on another platform about the warm weather and the kind of challenges that it poses, but talk to me about the summer and how did things work out for you during this time of year?
Yeah, the summer is certainly a big challenge. I think that sometimes there's both hesitancy to come inside because the weather is a little bit nicer out. and people feel that they can stay outside. But certainly in this heat wave, it's extremely dangerous conditions to be outdoors. So I know our street outreach teams are working really hard to bring water to folks, make sure that people are staying safe and hydrated, and going to cooling centers to cool off, and really, trying to get people in the door of our drop-in centers, and also our safe haven programs, which sort of have a direct pathway of accessing a bed right through a street outreach team.
Yeah. And so looking forward to the future, what can we expect?
Certainly that we are going to continue growing and innovating. We know that our services work, and we want to continue to provide them and open new services, access to permanent affordable housing, as the solution to homelessness for as many people as possible. And we're also going to keep advocating to make sure that our programs are stable, and also that it's easier for people to cut through a lot of that red tape and get inside as fast as they can.
Yeah, I know the red tape is hard. Talk to us about that for a second, because I think we use that word because we know it so well. But give us a little insight as to some of that red tape that sometimes people are facing. And, you're able to, in some ways, to really cut down on some of that by the work that you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So, some of the challenges that we're facing right now are with city FEPS vouchers. So this is a housing subsidy program that's funded by the city, and we have folks who maybe don't need or desire to go into supportive housing and just want to go right into affordable housing right in the community. And so these vouchers provide a way to do that by subsidizing the rent, but they're very hard to use. It sometimes takes a very long time to go through the process. The housing packet gets sort of sent back and forth between the caseworker and the city to HRA. That gets bounced back and forth a lot of different times. There's not always a clear point of contact. So if the person has a question or wants to say, hey, where is my application in this process? It's sometimes hard for them to find that information. And then there can be delays. So, if I find an apartment, it has to go through an inspection process, and the housing packet has to be reviewed by the city, and sometimes the landlord might not be able to hold that apartment for very long, and so folks lose out in that way. So we've been working with a coalition called the Homes Can't Wait Coalition to really address some of these issues and make those vouchers more effective, because we think they're a great tool and we're really glad to have them. We just want to make sure that they're working the best that they can for the people that they're trying to serve.
And for people out there in the public who are saying, listen, I want to be an advocate, I want to help, I want to assist in the work that's being done, you're doing some great things, how can people go about doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that people can always reach out to their local elected officials and let them know that this is an issue that they care about. We have a number of different campaigns going that people can get involved with. They can always visit our website or email us at advocacy@urbanpathways.org if they want to know about some of the campaigns that we're working on and receive the talking points so that they can advocate alongside us.
Yeah, I think that when we talk about the homeless crisis in New York City, a lot of challenges, and some people feel as though things are getting a little bit worse given the fact that we got this moratorium that's ended and COVID and the like. Before we go, give me a little bit of your insight as to how you see things presently.
It certainly is a challenge. It sometimes feels like a very difficult problem to solve, but we know what works. Again, the homelessness crisis is an affordable housing crisis. So the more affordable housing and access to subsidized housing that we can create in our city, the better off we will all be to moving people out of the system. And we also know that there are really good services that can get people into that first step. So, we're really glad to see the emphasis on opening more safe havens. We think that's a really great alternative to traditional shelter that is more accessible to folks. So, we are working hard. There are many organizations that are working hard to serve the homeless community, and we're certainly not stopping. So folks out there should know that.
Nicole McVinua, thank you so much for being with us, and continue the good work. And we appreciate the services that are being provided to our community. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All righty. Well, we're going to take a quick break. We do want you to stay with us. We'll continue with more here on the Social Justice Forums.